and in this part we'll be learning how to paint the models. I have sprayed my models as it makes it a lot easier to paint over. You don't have to have them sprayed if you don't want to. The equipment you need for this half is a pot of water, the large dry brush which comes in the magazines, your two new paints from issue 13, and Corex White and Contour Blue. You'll also need a paint palette and something to dry your brush with. And most importantly, you'll need issues 13 and 15 painting guide. You don't need to have the painting guide, as you can paint your models however you like to. Just for the purpose of this video, I am painting them using the instructions. I'm going to start off by painting the tombs. The paint that I'll be using to paint the larger tombs will be the Mechanos Standard Grey. I'm not sure if I said it correct, but colour will be your base coat to your larger tombs. First of all, what you need to do is shake your paint. Then open your paint so it stands up like on its back like that. But be careful not to knock it over. What I'm going to do is get your paintbrush and get some off the top of the palette and put it onto your paint palette. And close the lid. Keep your paint to the end of the brush. We're then going to get some water and thin the paint down. One of the tombs and start painting it. You may need to do several layers of this. Make sure you paint all over, including the fences. You may realise that you start to run out of paint or it's got a little bit too dry, so you can get some more. Be really careful when painting around spikes, as these are really fragile and can break off really easily. The thinned paint makes it a lot easier to get into the cracks. I'm on at least my third bit of paint to do this tomb. You'll also need to paint on the inside of the gates, but not all the inside, as that will be a waste of your paint. You'll also need to make sure that you paint the gargoyles in this colour. If you haven't primed your models, make sure you do at least 3 coats of watered down paint. It will make the colours stand out a little more. If you have primed your models, you may find that you need to do only 1 or 2 coats, but it's up to you how many coats you do. My first coat on this tomb. I'm going to leave it to dry before I do the next coat. I'm going to paint the next largest tomb, using the same colour as before. Why you don't need to paint inside the tombs is because it'll be too dark to see what you've painted. That's the first coat of the large tomb now done. You can tell on my model here, one of the spikes has fallen off. All you need to do is get some plastic glue and stick it back on. I will now start painting the smallest tomb. That's the first coat of the last little model done. Now that the tombs have dried, I'm going to paint a second coat on them. To do this, I'll be using the same colour paint as before and also a thinner brush. Finished painting the second layer on all my models that I've done so far. I will not add another base coat to them. I'll be coming back to them later on to do some dry brushing. I will now be base coating every other model using abandoned black. I am going to start off by painting the statue first, as this one is more difficult to paint as it's got a hood which needs painting on the inside. On the first layer, I'll be using my large dry brush to paint the base coat. The detail's a little hard to paint over, but it doesn't matter if you don't paint all over it. Rundown paint will help you get over the details at the moment. I have now finished painting the first layer on my statue. Next I'm going to paint the gates and walls in the same colour as I did before. There is just a touch-up layer, making sure I've got all the white bits covered up. So I'll be using the starter brush as well. As I leave the models that I've just painted to dry, I'm going to start painting the bases that some of the models sit on, such as the ones that were painted in the grey earlier on, and the statue. For the bases, you'll also be using abandoned black. Make sure you paint in the tomb. As we wait for the bases of the models to dry, I'm going to start dry brushing the tombs that we painted the second layer on earlier. To do this, what you need to do is wipe off most of the paint on your brush and then paint it onto the model. When dry brushing the tombs, you'll be using Corex White. As you can probably tell, Corex White is made out of two different colours, mostly white and a little bit of black. It is fairly important that you shake this colour because it mixes the colours together. Once you've shaken your Corex White, it makes it look definitely white. Like I said before, I'll be doing a whole video on dry brushing, so I'll show you how to dry brush them properly. There is such a thing as over dry brushing, so if you over dry brush, you need to go back and get your base colour. The tombs are now dry brushed. Well, we won't be needing these again in this video. I am now going to paint the second coat on the bases, where the tombs will sit and the statue will sit also. See you when I've got the bases done. Now that the bases have had their second coat done, I can now start dry brushing everything else. I'll be dry brushing everything else using Contour Blue. This includes the bases as well. That's the end of this video. Thank you for watching. If you like what I do, please like.